Hi, this is a short video on area conversions. Learning intentions are understanding how many, for example, millimetre squared there are in a centimetre squared and so on for other units such as metres squared, hectares and kilometres squared. How to understand how to convert from one measure to another. So, for example, work out how many metres squared in 3.5 kilometres squared. And to apply this knowledge to a work-life situation. So we'll start with how many centimetres squared in a metre squared and why. Now, a lot of people initially think that because there's 100 centimetres in a metre, there must be 100 centimetres squared in a metre squared. But 1 metre by 1 metre does give us 1 metre squared, but we also know that because there's 100 centimetres and 100 centimetres in a metre, it's actually 100 by 100, so 100 times 100, giving us 10,000 centimetres squared. 1 metre squared equaling 10,000 centimetres squared. Now, 1 hectare is 10,000 square metres, which comes from it being 100 metres by 100 metres. So this one is also 10,000, but this time it's metres squared. So 1 hectare equals 10,000 metres squared. Okay, what I'd like to do now, just pause the video and see if you can work out how many metres squared in a kilometre squared and how many millimetres squared in a centimetre squared. When you've had a go at that, press play on the video again and see if you got the same as me. Okay, so these ones, 1 kilometre squared is 1,000 metres by 1,000 metres, giving us 1 million metres squared. 1 kilometre is 1 million metres squared, 1,000. And 1 centimetre is 10 millimetres by 10 millimetres, giving us 100 millimetres squared. So 1 centimetre squared equals 100 millimetres squared. Okay, so now we want to be able to convert them using those key facts, and there's several ways we could do this. I'm just going to show you two. One is to use a ratio table, and to do that all you have to do is to draw a line like that. Then if I want to convert, say, 25 metres squared into centimetres squared, well, I know that 1 metre squared, using my key facts over here, is 10,000 centimetres squared. So 25, well, I should know that, say, 5 metres squared would be 50,000, 10 metres squared would be 100,000. So 25 metres squared, in fact I could write those in. Uh, 25 would be 250,000. We've got 2 lots of 10 to make 25, which would be 200,000 and the 50,000 there, so 250,000 in total. There's a couple of ways you can think about this. To get from there to there, it's 25 times bigger, and to get from there to there would also be 25 times bigger. So 10,000 times 25 gives me that 250,000, the same way that 1 times 25 gives me 25. There's also something else going on here that we could use. The relationship between 1 metre and 10,000 is this is 10,000 times the size. And if I wanted to go from centimetre squared back to metre squared, I'd divide by 10,000. You can see that here. I'll just clear that off. One metre squared to 10,000, that's 10,000 times bigger, and to get from 10,000 down to 1 I divide by 10,000. So another way to look at this is 25 metres squared into centimetres squared. I need to go from metres to centimetres this way. I'm going to times by 10,000. And you can use a calculator if you like. Sorry, let's clear that. 25 times 10,000 gives us 250,000. And if we get our units, we're talking about centimetre squared. Okay, so let's have a look at one going backwards now. So we'll clear that off. Let's say I wanted to do 8,600 metres squared, and we'll convert that into hectares. So how many hectares is that? Again, we can use a ratio table and say, well, 1 hectare is 10,000 metres squared. So, see, I would know things like 0.5 hectares would be 5. Oh, sorry. Let's write that a bit better. 5,000 metres squared. It's half the size there. So, 8,600 would be 0.86 hectares. Now again, another way to calculate this, if you don't like the ratio table, is to say, well, the relationship between this and this is 1 hectare. To get from there to there, I multiply by 10,000, because there are 10,000 times the number of metres squared in a hectare, and to get from there to there, I would divide by 10,000, because this is 10,000 times smaller than this number here. So if I want to go from metres squared to hectares, I'm going to go this way and divide by 10,000. So 8,600 divided by 10,000 equals, and again, could use our calculator to check, 8600 divided by 10,000 is 0.86. That's 0.86. Let's not forget our units. We are measuring in hectares. That's what we were looking for. And you can see there the answer is the same as the one we came up with here. Okay, so what I'd now like you to do is to use those key facts and either a ratio table or multiplication or division to try and work out what these are. So pause the video, try and do the questions, and then come back in a couple of minutes and see if you agree with me. Okay, here's the answers I got, and 2 different ways. So the first one, 1 centimetre squared is 100 millimetres squared, so 4.5 centimetres squared would be 450, or you could do 4.5 times 100 gives you 450 millimetres squared. 1 centimetre squared here is 100 millimetres squared, so 350 millimetres squared gives us 3.5 centimetres squared. Or again, you could just do 350 divided by 100, because this time we're going from millimetre squared to centimetre squared. It's that way, so it would be divided by 100. This one here, 1 kilometre squared is 1,000,000 metres squared, so 0.375. It's a bit less than half, and half would be 500,000. It's 375,000 metres squared. Another way, 0.375 kilometres squared times 1,000,000. That's because we're going this way from kilometre squared to metre squared. So times 1,000,000, and that gives us 375,000 metres squared. Okay. So the last thing we're going to do is a work scenario. We're tiling a bathroom. The tiles we have are 30 centimetres by 20 centimetres, which will make them rectangular, and we need to cover an area that's roughly 25 metres squared. So we just want to know roughly how many tiles will we need, not worrying for now about making them fit exactly to the edge of the room or anything like that, just roughly how many we're going to need. So pause the video again, have a go on your own, and then check back in a couple of minutes and see whether or not we've got the same answer. Okay, now there are lots of different ways we could work this out. I'm going to show you 2, and we can see whether we came up with something similar. The first thing I would always do whenever I answer any kind of math problem is try and draw a diagram. So here we've got 30 centimetres by 20 centimetres. That means that this would be 600 centimetres squared. Now the area that I'm trying to fill is 25 meters squared, so it's different units. What I need to do is get them the same. So a couple of ways I could do it. I might try and put this into centimeters squared, would be one way. So 25 meters squared into centimeters squared, well, we know there are 10,000, so that's going to give me 250,000 centimeters squared. That's what this area is here. Each tile is 600 centimeters squared, so if I divide 250,000 by 600, let's see what that gives me. And I get 416.67 tiles to 2 decimal places, or approximately 417 tiles. Now, another way we could do that would be maybe to go straight to meters squared here. We could say that was 0.3 meters by 0.2 meters, giving us 0.06 meters squared per tile, again with an area of 25 meters squared to tile. Incidentally, you might check that with your calculator, because if you think that's 0.6, you can see that it's not, and perhaps have a look at 0.3 times 0.2 is 0.06. You have a look at a different video if you're not quite sure why that is the case. So it's 0.06 meters squared. And then the question is, well, how many of those, we know meters, so how many of those fit into 25 meters squared? And the answer, I'll just bring up the calculator again. You shouldn't be surprised that it's going to come out as 416. There we go, 416.67 again, or approximately 417 tiles. There we go.